Greetings viewers, Eric the Car Guy. Thanks for tuning in. Well, the engine and transmission have been removed from Dad's truck and now it's time to tear it down to the bits that I need. Or should I say bit? Really, the only thing I'm keeping is the engine block, maybe a couple of fasteners here and there, but that's about it. So I'm not going to be nice in this disassembly, but in this video, I will show you the disassembly of the 350 engine. Should be fun. Let's get started. Here's a look at the engine before disassembly with its transmission still attached. Something else I'm also not keeping. But this gives you an idea of what I'm starting with, which is virtually everything as it came out of the truck. For me, job one will be to remove the transmission. I have already disconnected the torque converter bolts while it was still in the truck. So this should just be a matter of unbolting the bell housing from the block. I'm not saving the transmission, but the fasteners fall into the category of things I'd like to save. These are 14 millimeter. I like to save a fastener at the top when I have something big and heavy like this to remove. That way I can be out of the way when it does its thing. In fact, I'm going to let it down a little more before I knock that loose. It's already coming apart. That's good. I've taken the fasteners I want to keep, put them in a bag, and I'm going to label them transmission. I'm guessing this won't take much. I expected that. Doesn't mean I have to like it. Yeah, there's always stuff left in the block. In fact, there'll be a mess before this is all done. Since this will be an ongoing problem, I'm going to try to empty out as much of this coolant as I can into something. Right there on the side of the block, that's a plug I can take out and that'll drain it. This guy's also 14 millimeter. Well, that might be scale. Hoping this makes it so all I have to deal with is oil dripping everywhere. I'm gonna get busy. Well, I don't like you. I don't like you one bit. So, have a nice life. So I have to take the power steering pump off. Yeah, let's just get this water pump. If I was smart, I would have knocked these loose before I cut the belt. But I'm not smart. I hope this is the right one. My tool is bottoming out inside of here. So I'm just going to take this little nut, put it on here. I need something that this will slide over. This tool it's been modified. It used to have an end on it in there just for this kind of thing. But I do have to remove this pulley in order to get this power steering pump off. There's bolts behind it. Let's try that. It's always the simple things. Just had another idea. My other idea. My nut fell out. I feel weird sharing that with you. I think I made it weird. It's these little things end up eating up your whole dang day. Well, I got it off. All right, engineers, we need you to make the emission system on this truck tamper-proof. All right, let's use some torque spits on the air pump. So it's funny how they went through all that, yet they put a nut or another bolt on the backside here. I may not worry about it because I'm just taking the whole bracket off anyway. So the fasteners that are holding the AC compressor on have nuts on the backside. That's what I'm doing. Couldn't quite get onto that one, but I didn't care. They want you to take the clutch off. Did I say, whatever, I have other things to do. You are seriously going there? Okay, let's see if we can just get this whole bracket off because it just made me mad. Why is it making me mad? Because of that. I'm gonna find out how this bracket is held on and it's out of here. Radiator hose in front of part of that endeavor. Well, that was anticlimactic, sorry. Appears a water pump's in the way. Easy enough. A couple fasteners down here that I was trying to access. And then there's one here. Last but not least, I've got these two brackets up here. Really? So now the Harmonic Balancer has to come off. They locked it all in. Yep, right there. Fairly certain that pulley was not part of the balancer. Beginning to suspect I was wrong. I was wrong. Sorry about that, balancer. I messed up your pulley. You're now junk. But I did that, so now you don't have to. Lucky you, right? Gonna need a puller to get this off, I'm certain of it. You have to put the bolt back in. Can't press on the crank. You gotta do it on the bolt. So it's gonna be pushing on the bolt, the crank bolt. And that's the setup. Put a regular oil on the bolt. Help the tool, help protect the tool. A little WD-40 on the threads. That worked good. Now let's see if we can get this monstrosity off. Well, look at that. Well, now it is time to, well, I think it's time to put it on the engine stand. Unfortunately, I don't have bolts that go into the back of this block. So I have to run to the hardware store real quick, pick up some fasteners that I can use to mount this to my engine stand. For you, it'll only be a couple of seconds, but for me, well, it's kind of inconvenient. Trip to the hardware store, and I now have the fasteners that I need. They are 3/8 coarse thread. I don't remember what the thread pitch was, sorry. Here's my solution. I have a little piece of the pipe from when I did the shop between two washers. There we are. Because of the modifications I've made to my engine hoist and stand, this is now possible. Wasn't before, but I'm almost there. Not this again, no. Yeah, I might just give up on this engine stand and go for one with 3 legs that I never had a problem with. That's good enough for me. Oh, we have our engine on a stand. I'm gonna say the exhaust manifolds are probably gonna give me the most trouble here. Might be wise to start with those. It sucks that I actually have to remove them because there's some cylinder head bolts that are underneath them. When you're deep 14, just isn't deep enough. And wasn't it nice of GM to put these little lock things on here? Thanks, guys. If that was in the car, I would not be happy right now. So I didn't want to say anything until I actually got the last one out, but wow. Can you believe that worked? Look at how crusty those exhaust valves are. They're rusty. Looks like the dipstick is bolted to the exhaust manifold. Maybe. That's fine. This will give me some room to maneuver. Tubes are bugging me. They're also attached to the cylinder heads and the exhaust manifold. It's got to go away. Well, there's something that's never going to work again. I think the chain came over and broke that. So if you're pulling one of these engines and you gotta save stuff, I would remove this heater hose before you ever hook up, because I'm pretty sure that the hook from the chain came into this and just snapped that off. I don't care, because I'm getting a whole new setup, whole new intake manifold, whole new everything. But if you're not in that same situation, beware. And what I'm talking about is the hook for the engine hoist that I came in through here and hooked. So it came over and probably broke that. Well, maybe I'm lucky. Come on, be lucky. Yay! I will take that. This also has to come off, but we're saving it. I could tell there was a lot of love put into those spark plug wires. Let's get this knock sensor off. I hope it's not into a coolant passage. We're about to find out. It is. We'll leave that in there for the moment. Well, why? We're stripping this down to nothing. Seems weird they'd put a knock sensor in a water jacket, but oh well. You still had a lot left in you, didn't you? Can't wait to find out what kind of oil you got left. I'm just gonna let those things drip. Even though I'm replacing it, I want to get this oil pressure sender off and the part sticking up here. I'm using an adjustable, but I believe these are usually like 1 1/16. Here's the guy jamming up the works. It's a vacuum port. You know what though? That's good for me. Taking the intake manifold off next anyway. It's like they purposely put a bunch of stuff in the way of stuff. It's almost like they did it on purpose. I know they didn't, but it's almost like that. It's been bugging me long enough. It has. I don't throw away these tubes. I find uses for them. I cut them up into smaller things. They just sometimes find a home. So I just have a box or a scrap pile that I keep this stuff in, and it comes in handy sometimes. Oops, I dropped a bolt down in the intake. I think I'm gonna destroy the engine. Oh no! Let's get this intake manifold off. Let some dirt down into the engine. You realize it doesn't matter, right? On account of it's gonna get hot tanked. It's got a date with the machine shop. Aside from the dirt I just made, it looks pretty clean down in there. Want to see what's under the timing cover? Oh yeah, that goes with the oil pan. The oil pan comes off first. I'll just leave one of you in there. Let's get one of these cylinder heads off. Just asking for it. Just like, please take me off. Please. So many head bolts. I'm gonna go see if I can find their own box. Not that I'm not replacing them, but it's just easier to find a place to put them. Well, they insist on tearing everything apart. They just really do. You can't get to this fastener head bolt without taking the rocker arms off. There's 4 of them on this side and there's 4 on the other. That was exciting. Oh no, the 100 horsepower cylinder head just fell on the floor. I guess I'm gonna have to get new ones. Well, just an overall view, combustion looks good. And there are 4 more over here. Now, I really should have done this sooner. I've switched over my catch to an oil drain. Coolant I think is pretty much dealt with. But oil, on the other hand, well, that's going to be dripping for a minute. So what I should have done is I should have knocked this loose and let this drain for a bit, because there's always at least another quart left in there. You can sort of see it wanting, but I'll pull the filter off also, let that drain out. Ugh, seriously, Dad? You're the best. Ugh, I can't stand having a fight with oil filters. Should be able to unscrew them by hand. This is the fuel pump block off. I'm gonna take this with me. Anytime you're gonna send your block off to the machine shop, keep everything you can anyway. This way they don't have to worry about losing it on you. Before I flip this over, I'm gonna pull the lifters out. Or at least try to. I know you want to come out. Come on. Come on. Yeah, that's it. You know what? This is getting to be a pain. I'm just going to turn it upside down and see who falls out. They'll come out eventually. There's my oil. This is why we have a goo catcher. Check it out. My engine is upside down. I don't want to lose this guy. I'm keeping the oil pan. I'm not into fancy oil pans unless I need one. This one, perfectly fine. Clean it up, little paint, like brand new. Oil pan bolts are gonna get their own little baggie. Big reveal with this one. We're gonna find out if this has 4-bolt main. I know many Chevy trucks came with 4-bolt mains. I hope this was one of them, given that it was a sport, although, at least in my experience, the performance did not feel anything close to sporty, or to my standards even adequate. My little 4-cylinder GSR would destroy this thing. Although, this was a workhorse. It towed a boat, it did bunches of stuff. So, I can't really complain. Ones on the ends were 13s. These could be 10 millimeter, but I'm using a 3/8. I'll put these supports someplace safe. They will get reconditioned. Okay, oil pan, show me what I want to see. Wah, wah, wah. 2-bolt main. Darn it. These are 2 bolts. So 4-bolt main will be a larger main cap with another set of bolts on either side here. It's only 2-bolt. Yeah. General Motors in the 90s. What are you gonna do? That's where everything's ending up. Not everything wants to stay where I put it. Timing cover should come off now. A little bit of slack. Only a little. So, you're not that type of gear, are you? Fine, stay with the crank. See if I care. I have a morbid curiosity about the cam. I don't know why. Just want to get it out of here. Hoping this will inspire some of the lifters to leave. Is this one of those things where you're like, no, I didn't think so. Bump stick. Ooh la la. Looks like normal wear to me. I don't see any that's like totally worn down or whatever, but you know, 30-year-old just emissions cam garbage to me. Great for the environment, sorta. So I'm regretting not removing this before I put the engine stand on because I'm sort of blocked in now. This whole rear main seal is one piece. I could still get it off. I can get down in there. It's just, it would have been easier to do before I put it on the engine stand. So if you're tearing one of these apart, recommend taking this off first. There's just 4 fasteners holding this on, I believe. Yeah, I don't feel anymore. It almost looks like I could not have taken this off because the oil pan was held on here, and it sort of looks like these studs are a part of this assembly. So kind of had no choice based on what I'm seeing. Yep, I had no choice. So I did it right, but this isn't going to come off without the crank. That's okay though. We'll get that crank out. The drive is attached. Wow. Now that I like. No place for this, well, not much place for this to go, but I like the fact that it's attached and together. That's cool. I'm gonna borrow the balancer so I can spin the engine more easily. There we are. This way I can just knock the pistons out. They were 14s. I had doubts if they were metric. Whoops. Eric, you're so reckless. Yeah, maybe a little. But given that I'm not saving any of this, yeah, so what? Save that one. One thing I'm noticing on these wrist pins are like super stiff. Yeah, now they loosen up after the fact, but they're pretty stiff. And the hits just keep on coming. There it is, free of any pistons, the business of the engine. Spins around and spins stuff. Awesome, right? Let's get this crankshaft out. Now I'm going to lay these out on the bench, or better yet, on my cart in order, so that I can put them back in the same order. I'm also keeping the same direction. Ooh, that crank has some sharp edges on it. So thrust bearing is on the back on this instead of the center. So this guy's got its thrust bearing. It's time for you to leave. 30 years is plenty of time. Crankshafts are fantastic beasts and they need special treatment. They like to be set upright. I mean, if they set on their side for long enough, they can like warp. But anytime I've ever seen them stored, they store them like this. Even though this is a junk crank, I'm just showing you basically what I got. That's not exactly junk, but I'm not using it. Let's have some fun. Lifter poking. Leave. You know what? I'm gonna get a brass drift so I don't screw up the lifter bores. There we are. Nice and soft. I'm now going to remove the remaining bearings, starting with this here thrust bearing. So what is a thrust bearing? Well, notice it's special and it has these edges on it, and it keeps the crankshaft from moving back and forth this way. Especially with a manual transmission, this is important because every time you step on the clutch, you're actually pushing the crankshaft forward. This is the kind of thing that keeps it in check. In fact, you do a measurement of this whenever you do a rebuild. And now we will reassemble. I'm not taking this to the machine shop for a couple of days. What I'm going to do, so this doesn't leak all over the inside of my vehicle, is flip it around and just let it drain, as I'm sure it will. It's designed, oil is designed to flow in this direction. I'm going to give it plenty of time to drip itself out. I'm sure some of you want to know what kind of shape the bearings were in. They look like normal wear to me for something that's been in there for 30 years. And a lot of what happened with this truck is it sat for long periods of time and then was started up. And that's what's gonna, well, I hate to say it, but accelerate wear on these bearings because there is no oil that is present at startup during those times because it all drains back into the oil pan. But overall, you know, looks good. And pistons, well, I dropped a couple, but hey, they just look like regular old pistons. And just like I said, the wrist pins seem to be a little stiff. But other than that, they look like pistons. Anyway, it's all getting replaced. Well, viewers, this brings us to the end of the disassembly of the 350 engine that was in Dad's truck. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was educational. If you have any questions about anything you saw in this video, tools, things like that, I will link those things down in the description. I will also link EricTheCarGuy.com in the description, which is where I ask you go if you have automotive questions. Please like, comment, subscribe, do all those things that help me make a living. Super appreciate that. Be safe, have fun, stay dirty. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.